All right, so something else that we're going to talk about with the neurological system is the lifespan from pediatrics to adults, and kind of what happens as they are born, and then what progressively happens as we start aging. So first, let's start with pediatrics. When they are first born, their neurosystem is not fully developed yet at birth. So that's why you're going to see them kind of, they do this with their limbs, and they just have all these involuntary, movements because their neurological system hasn't developed yet. Whereas an adult, I can sit here because my neurological system has been fully developed, and I can control my limbs and what I want to do with them. Whereas those babies, they don't have that control because their neurosystem has not fully developed yet. The neurons are still being myelinated, which that myelin sheet is the protecting layer of those neurons. So many things could happen here as they're still being myelinated. And again, as adults, we have, in a normal adult, you should find neurons that are fully myelinated with that sheet. And in pediatrics, their sensory and motor development are still kind of happening. So that goes back to that neurosystem not being fully developed. Where again, as a middle-aged adult, we are fully developed. We do have that sensory and motor development down pat. And there are diseases and conditions where you're going to find that adults might have similarities to these pediatrics that are still developing those sensory and motor developments. Another thing with pediatrics is that their motor activity is under the control of the spinal cord and medulla. So then we go over to adults and aging. When we start aging, this is going to cause atrophy. So the size in our muscles are going to shrink, which that in itself causes further, like a domino effect with other different things within our body. Aging also causes a loss of neuron structure. So especially when we are more in like our geriatric stages, we're going to start losing the neuron structure. And then also we're going to lose muscular abilities. So as we start aging and we get into like that geriatric stage, we're not necessarily going to have underdeveloped motor skills like, with those babies, but they're just going to more likely be slow to respond because of the loss of muscular abilities and the loss of the neuron structure and the atrophy. So, compared to a pediatric where they're not fully developed, an adult is fully developed, but as we start aging towards that geriatric stage of life, we're likely going to be slower to respond. So, think of like a deer in headlights as an adult who has aged into the geriatric stage of life. When they see headlights, they just kind of stare, and that's kind of like a geriatric adult. They have to sit and think about what's going on to fully get that reaction in their body. So across the lifespan, how pediatrics would respond with the neurological system is going to differ than adults who are closer to 18 years old, who are closer to 30 years old, and then again who are closer to 60 and 70 years old. So we should keep into consideration the differences between pediatrics and adults, and then as we continue to age into the geriatric stage. Come back for more.